Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for being here on this Sunday afternoon. Y'all see the title. I'm gonna wait for some more people to get in here. You already know how we gotta start off the show. I gotta share it. We're going live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. I will upload this to Rumble later on, but we're gonna talk about the civilization before Adam and Eve family. Now, modern day biblical texts, they don't speak of past civilizations. So you get the secular story of Adam and Eve. Okay, you get the artificial story after the reset. See, Adam and Eve take place after the reset. Now God done reset this joint many a times, and he lets you know every time he reset the earth, or what they call the world. See, the world is how you see things. See, the world today has been reset in all actuality. Let me share this video, man. It's gonna take a minute, man. Let me hold on. Tony Rock, Trump's a known pedo. What does this got to do with what I'm talking about, dude? What does this got to do with anything I'm talking about, dude? You weren't talking about the Epstein's file 7 years ago. We don't give a fuck what you got to say now, bro. If your page wasn't getting torn down, uh, 7 years ago, you ain't talking about shit. Everything that's on the Epstein's file, we already know about. You would have had to been a Trump supporter to know what everything in the Epstein's file was all about. You know how everything played out. You would have had to been a Trump supporter. You a liberal. You don't know shit, bro. Yeah, this shit just now Johnny come lately to you. We been on this shit. That's why everything y'all say it don't matter. We don't care. Johnny come lately, man, talking about the Epstein's file shit is old. Epstein file shit is old. It's new to the normies. They're like, oh shit, what about this, man? We been talking about that shit. I ain't fucking saying nothing new. That's what I'm saying. These motherfuckers right here, the liberals, they part of the old world. They still trying to hang on to the old world because they know their future is being well. They never had a future to begin with. They worried more about Trump. Trump ain't even the biggest part of the Epstein's file. That's how I know you fucking dumb as fuck. Trump ain't even the biggest part of the Epstein's files, y'all. Shit, that's the thing. What Epstein had going on is what we talking about tonight. Past civilization. This shit tied into the Epstein's files too. What we about to talk about because Epstein hit a reset button too, especially if you took that jab. And Tony Rock, I know you took that jab. You might have Jeffrey Epstein DNA in your body. Look at what Kevin Sorbo said. If the shots were given away for free because they are life threatening, why isn't insulin free, chemotherapy, and EpiPens? Because they got the shots had Epstein's DNA in them. We already did an episode on that. So Tony Rock, you might be you might be Jeffrey Epstein might be your dad. Okay, once they do the DNA and shit, your shit gonna be linked back right to Jeffrey Epstein. Guess what? You gonna be a hypocrite. Your father gonna be a fucking pedophile. Your damn father gonna be. That's why I said people can't talk about the Epstein's files, especially if they been poked with that. You know what? Yeah, go read the Epstein. That's why I said Trump ain't the focus of the Epstein's files, dummy. Y'all worried about the wrong shit. Y'all walking around with Jeffrey Epstein's DNA and shit, you nasty bitch. Yeah, where? Oh, I can't find my shit. Hold on, man. Put this thing on. Put this back up. I think we straight now. I still gotta share the video, so hold tight, man. We still gotta share the video, man. Tony Rock, let me talk to you. Do you believe in Christ? Do you believe in the Bible? Because the Bible mentions there was a civilization, but if you're not aware of it, it's gonna go over your head. Because the beginning was the word, and guess what? A lot of people like to twist the word. They don't read it for what it is. They don't know what this means. They don't know what that word means. But when you really look at the etymology of the word, the Bible is really against your beliefs. Your and I ain't even gonna say they beliefs. The Bible is against your indoctrination. If you really want to break it down, I've seen some of the best debates with credible people, and it seems like some people just don't know what's going on, man. But if you're a part of that crowd, of course you go believe in the story they gave. You're not gonna believe in the back. See, they don't tell you the backstory for a reason. They don't tell you the backstory for a reason because you'll probably self-delete when you find out the truth. Just like Tony Rock. Tony Rock, man, once you find out the truth about that JB, you go want to self-delete, dog. I think that's why Trump didn't really want to put that shit out. It is a national security threat, but the crimes on there are so astronomical. It's not going to register to the average human being that's already fucking dumbed down and brainwashed. See that these motherfuckers look at you like Goyim, like internet slop. So let me get into sharing this video. So we're gonna be right back, man. That's just the introduction of it. Let me share this to a couple. I'm put some music on right quick because we about to start up, man. Tony Rock got right on the damn channel, didn't he? This episode didn't have nothing to do with damn Donald Trump, man. This dude is crazy. Real TDS for real, man. Damn Donald Trump, man. Okay, yeah, we sound good. So, hold on. Let me share this. It's gonna be a few minutes, man. Hold on. Matter of fact, I ain't gonna have y'all waiting. I'm gonna just put it on the video. But hold on. I'm in a whole bunch of religious groups too, so I'm gonna share this to all these religious groups. I'm in a whole bunch of Bible groups. Okay, I think we Bible study. See, I posted before I went live. I posted, anybody want to join Bible study tonight? Comment section bone dry. Let me post some shit about some politics. I get damn near 1,000 shares and shit. Let me post some black fatigue shit and I'm gonna bubble. But when it's about some damn biblical, it's about Christ and shit, motherfuckers don't show up to this. I'll be honest with you. I'm the only one that's still doing content like this in the conservative movement because they just brainwashed off politics. Like, damn, take a break, man. Get the hell off politics. But the thing is, what does poly mean? Poly means more than one. Politics ties right into religion, so I guess you got to have them both. You can't have one without the other. So, and basically, the Bible is a big political book because the political characters they're following the biblical script of Israel. So I guess you can't. I guess you can't separate the two. You really can't separate the two at all. So yeah, we done sure we done sharing the video. We done sharing the video. But the thing is, it's the live calling show, and I wanted to know that do you believe in this story or not? The pre dynastic age, what they call the age of the Tartarian, because Adam and Eve they're new humans. But who made it with these new humans? Some say it's the Elohim. But what did we tell y'all about the Elohim and how this is tied into the damn Scientology religion? Okay, and their headquarters is Israel is a big Scientology Zionist location. So this is where they produce all the AI. If you look up Jeffrey Epstein and AI, they're saying Jeffrey Epstein has something to do with creating AI too. Did you know that fucking? Did you know that son of a bitch? No, because you worried about fucking Trump. There's more fucking shit in the Epstein's files that has way more to do than fucking Trump. But your ass, I think you want to see the damn videos, man. That's why I think you want to see the little girls. I think you want to see the video. Cause I think you pedo man 95. Anybody that wanted that damn Epstein's list very was egregious about wanted. that sounds like some pedo shit to me too. You know what I'm saying? That sounds like some pedo 55 shit to me too. Motherfucker wanted to see the Epstein's. If you want to see a little girl's butt and a little boy's weenie, nasty son of a bitch, y'all kill me, man. We already know what they was doing. Now they want to see the AI videos, man. They want to see the actual AI videos. Now we already know the real shit gonna be mixed with the AI shit. And it's up to you to be able to decipher that shit. But like I said before, if you can't decipher AI, you're not Christ-like. You're not anointed. You can't tell the difference between the two. So I see a lot of people worship these religious deities, still getting fooled by AI videos. For real. Swear to God. And you could tell this AI if you got the third. See, that's what the third eye is. That's what the all-seeing eye is. Y'all thought that shit was demonic. No, that third eye, that all-seeing eye just means you got the ability to know what's real and know what's fake. That's all about AI, the Antichrist, the artificial light, and the real light. But both entities are light bearers. Both entities are light bearers in the matrix. So some people use evil to bring light and vice versa. And that's just the way the nature of the universe is. You got to have evil and good. That's the yin yang. The yin yang symbol. Let's pull up the yin yang symbol, family. Yeah, let's put the yin yang because you pull up this yin yang symbol. What does the yin yang mean? What does this mean? Sun and moon. And this S right here is the serpents on the tree. Man, it's man and woman. But that snake, the S, is the serpent right here, splitting the two. You see Christ? Christ is the serpent, splitting the tree of knowledge, or who they call the left side of your brain and the right side of your brain. Why is she calling my phone, man? Hello? What? Say what? It don't matter, just surprise. Don't get no weird shit. It surprised me. Call my phone for some damn coffee cups, man. Anyways, as you can see, this is tied to the damn yin yang symbol. And you gotta have both to get it into the tree of life, or what they call heaven. If you don't have the knowledge of both, you're fucked. It's how a lot of y'all was getting tricked by Turning Point USA and shit. These are fucking preachers. It's just crazy. But guess what? They use that. See, the thing is, the yin yang symbol is also the Neuralink symbol, family. This is also the Aurora Borealis. This symbol means forever. So, and this all ties in with the ancient civilization before before Adam and Eve. But Adam is Atum. He's actually the god, Egyptian god Atum, or what they call the first coming of Christ. Because this Aurora Borealis symbol, the serpent, means forever. This is the Christ symbol right here. This is the Christ symbol right here, the Aurora Borealis. And I told you what Christ represented. The damn serpent. He's the split. Or the split in time. This is the reason why you call all these celebrities reptilians and shit, shapeshifters and aliens. This is why you could use the fucking, excuse my language. I know it's a Sunday, but you know how I get all my emotions tied up into esoteric knowledge. I get real emotional with this esoteric, so they're not gonna teach you this. They're not gonna teach you this. I'm probably the only guy on the right wing diaspora that knows esoteric, because how y'all dealing with the outside world is not good. Y'all dealing with the outside world like an NPC. Y'all dealing with the outside world like an NPC, y'all. And I said, why are they dealing with certain topics that are prophesied in the Bible? This shit prophesied in the Bible, and you mean to tell me you don't know what's going on out here? You don't know? You mean to tell me you don't know nothing? It's just real. It's just real, bro. People are actually walking around here with no discernment. But like I said, let's read. Some biblical interpreters argue that Jinn, who is Jinn? The Jinn is the genie out the lamp. Okay? The Jinn, let's pull this up. Let's pull this up. You see, it's the Jinn right here. That's the blue genie. The genie or the Nagini or the Anunnaki. Who is the god Anu, an Egyptian deity? And he's a winged serpent too, with a damn tail. With a damn tail. So, like I said, what does the blue genie personify? What does the blue genie look like? He looks like a sperm cell. He looks like a damn sperm cell. But like I said, the personification of the sperm cell is the man merging with the woman to create life. This is what genie. See, when you dealing with in the astral realm, when you being reincarnated, when you doing this in the astral, because the thing is, once you leave your body, you got to start over again. That's the gem. but they say you get 3 wishes. One of your wishes is to reincarnate back on Earth because you didn't finish your damn mission. And if you don't finish your mission, you ain't satisfied with your mission on Earth, by default, you're gonna want to reincarnate. Okay. But they saying that these ancient people that destroyed this earth, which I believe was not a long time ago. I'm gonna be honest with you. I believe this is what I believe. All this ancient shit was about 500, no more than 500 years. No more than 500 years. And they say, some say every reset take place at these 3600 year increments. But when you're dealing with the knowledge of the 360, it's a perfect circle. You're dealing with what they call Kirk. When we went into the knowledge of Kirk means circle. And this is what they worship in Jan. The reason why they worship that is because, guess what? That's the Fibonacci, the tail. That is the snake. That is the Aurora Borealis, Ouroboros. And some say this is tied to the Northern Lights too, the green Northern Lights, the souls walking towards basically the North Pole. If you look at the island of Dr. Moreau, this movie, the island, as you can see on the right, you got your green Northern Lights going towards the mount, or who they call Mount Meru. But the mount would be a big genie lamp. This would be the big lava genie lamp. And who's coming out the top? The crown, the top of the crown. Christ. See, Christ would be the jinn or the genie or the Genesis in the Matrix. Okay, because guess what? When you want something, you pray to God. You pray to Christ. He's the jinn. Okay, so when you fuck up, what do you pray for? A new beginning. To start over. Oh, I'm about to start over. But you don't think this guy, if you say, oh man, I'm about to start over, I'm about to be reborn again. See, in the Bible, they use a word called replenish. They say we're about to replenish the earth. Told Adam and Eve to replenish the earth, but the thing is, that means it's been it's been destroyed before. Means that it doesn't happen. And see, y'all, that's what I'm saying. Y'all don't read the word, man. Y'all don't read the word. Y'all don't decode it. Let's put it that way. Y'all just read the word. Y'all don't decode the Bible. Y'all think the Bible's fake and shit. The Bible ain't fucking fake. It's the motherfucker that's reading it that's fake. The Bible ain't fake. See, the powers that be, they know to see the people that destroy this ancient civilization. They revised the Bible, and they kept what they needed to keep power over you, and then they gave the peasants the revised version. Okay, so they kept all the redacted copies. They kept, just like in the Epstein's list, they go keep all the redacted copies, just like the Vatican. But like I said before, that Epstein's list is that Epstein's files. That's a whole reset. Because you gotta think, the shit that's in the Epstein's files that we talking about now ain't gonna hit the normies until 10 years later. Even if they're even alive by then, to be honest with you. If they're even alive by then, they motherfuckers having all kind of thyroid problems from this damn, you know what? Motherfuckers' head is getting big like Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. For real. Big people get big headed like Jeffrey. Who's getting big headed like Jeffrey Epstein? The Johnny come latelys, the ones that just found out about the damn fucking files. Oh, the files has been released. The files been released. And we was talking about that shit. We was talking about what was in the files. That's why everything is in the files is what we've been talking about for the last 7 years. Now the thing is, he already done established his civilization on Earth. Jeffrey Epstein is another personification of Father Abraham that had many sons. He got his DNA. That was his main objective, was to squirt his DNA in the world's population, and he did it with Bill Gates. He did it. So ain't no talking. It's been accomplished already, especially if Bill Gates is in the mix, and they've been, yeah, they've been walking this earth for how long? I think they've been walking this earth. See, they're the people, they're the offsprings of the Elohim, and they've come to switch out humans. They look just like us, but they're not really us, family. And these motherfuckers outlive us. They can reincarnate as soon as you blow them up. That's why I said Trump blowing up the Alatola. Shit, another one's gonna pop up. Another one's gonna pop up. Another one. He's gonna have to kill. I don't know how many motherfuckers to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. To get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. And like I said, these Alatoilas, they could very well be AI. You cannot kill AI. And one person said, "Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have to somewhat agree with them. If it does play out a different way, shit, it's really gonna make me a believer. But on the other hand, I know you got to catch them all like Pokemon. That's the whole point of the ancient civilization. Because the thing is, you had these, I call them Romans, because they went around roaming the earth. Because we still stay in that damn dynasty, that Romanized dynasty. But the thing is, you had two sides to that dynasty that know the knowledge of the Holy Grail, which is basically a reciprocating hyperboloid, a free energy. This right here, this the Holy Grail. It's the Holy Grail right here. You see the fucking hole in it? All right. Genesis 1:1, the beginning. God created the heavens and the earth. It is seen to describe God's original perfect creation, possibly including plants, animals, and even intelligent beings, or a full civilization that existed for an unspecific period, potentially millions and billions of years ago. And they say a day to God is like a million years to a human. Okay? 6 days of creation in Genesis. They said he rested the seventh day, the seventh or the Sabbath. But some say people have defiled the Sabbath. Some say the Sabbath is on a Saturday, y'all. I hear about that. Some say the Sabbath is on a Saturday, and guess what? That day you're supposed to rest, but you don't rest. You're working. You're working. You're giving your energies to the corporation, which is already written in the capitalism script or the Bible. See, the Bible is all about capitalism too. That is a financial biblical system as well. Okay. So the fossil records, okay, it says phrases like replenish the earth, which some read as fill again. Okay. Replenish means fill again. Okay. So it's just giving you, an interpretation of what went on, but not exactly. Okay. But there's certain key phrases that you know point to a prior civilizations, or what they call Lucifer's flood, or what they call Noah's flood, and that is the judgment of humanity. So we're gonna get into this video. He was on this shit too. He was on. Obama was a part of this damn rallying movement too, as well. He would be considered a Elohim. He controls the minds of others. That's what the Teflon is all about. The Teflon, the Jewish Teflon, it's basically it's no different than the Kubala, the cube of Allah. So let's get into this video, and just we're gonna have to chill for a little bit. Here it is. Take this off. I'm about to turn my volume down on my mic so it don't bleed into the screen share. So let's get it.
Canaanite, Phoenician Canaanite. In the Bible, there are many things that are misunderstood and mistranslated into English that comes from what we call Hebrew. First of all, we need to understand that which we refer to as Hebrew is in point of fact not Hebrew, but Canaanite, Phoenician Canaanite. The bloodline is from the ancient Middle East called the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians, that area in which Phoenicia existed was called Cana, the land of Cana. So today we refer to the Canaanite, Phoenician Canaanite language as Hebrew. All you have to do is go to reference books and look up ancient Hebrew, and it will tell you ancient Hebrew is actually Phoenician Canaanite. And it develops and mutates and comes down through history until today we call it Hebrew. But Hebrew is actually a Phoenician language. And many of the concepts and ideas which are expressed in the Old Testament are not original to the Old Testament. It goes back to even further back into ancient history, so that many of the concepts and belief systems in Judaism and Christianity are very, very ancient. And I believe that the Bible is one of the most important books on the earth, because it's really telling you some really interesting things. But if you don't understand how to read the symbols, it's never going to dawn on you how this stuff works. I think the New Testament is probably the most important story in the whole world, but not as history, but as a metaphor, as an encoded message. But let me go back to this one subject that I've been very interested in for a long time, and that is in the beginning of the Bible, in Genesis 1:1 says in the King James Bible, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But that's not what it says in the old ancient Hebrew or Phoenician language. That's not what it says in the original language. That's how it was translated from the English and the King's English. Well, the King's English, the King James Version, was translated by the best translators that the king had at the time. And it was very well done. However, they know more about the language today than what they did then. And so there's a lot of imperfections in the King James Bible that could be misleading unless you understand what the words actually meant in the ancient world. And so when you read in the beginning, this is Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's not what it says in Hebrew. It says in the beginning of the creation, Elohim. Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Elohim is not the word God. El is a Phoenician, Canaanite name or word for deity, El, E-L. We talked a little bit about that last week. Lohim is like adding an S onto an English word. You have C-A-R for car or C-A-R-S, cars, more than one. So adding an S on the end to the end of most English words means it's plural, in the plural. Well, that's exactly what Elohim means. El is God, Lohim is plural. So the correct understanding should be read, the Hebrew read, in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth, not God. And more interesting than that, this is why, incidentally, in Genesis 1:28, when God is creating Adam and Eve, the first couple, and it says, God said, come, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Who's us and our? Was God talking to himself? Come, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Later on in Genesis, I think it's 3, the scripture says, God said, here man has become as one of us, knowing good and evil. The point is, who is God talking about? Us. Here's man made in our image after looking like us. Here, now he's like us. Who's us? Who's our? Well, it's Elohim, the gods. So consequently, what we're talking about here is that the gods created us, created the heavens and the earth and all things on it. Now, more important to my, and this is the whole subject, of course, you could take this, in many different directions. But interesting, in Genesis 1:2 says, and the earth was without form and void. That's another mistranslation. And the original, it does not say that the earth was without form and void. Actually, it says, and the earth became a waste and a desolation. Not form and void, but waste and desolation. And it was not, as I said, the scripture, if you read it today in the Bible, Genesis 1:2, says, and the earth was without form and void. No. The earth became a waste and a desolation. Consequently, if you go to Genesis 9, which is Genesis 9:1, where God is talking to Noah after the flood of Noah's day, and God says to Noah, now understanding that according to the story, everyone has been wiped off the earth in the great flood, and so God says to Noah and his sons, his 3 sons, go forth into the world now and multiply and replenish the earth. And you ask the question, wait a minute, the word is R-E, replenish the earth, meaning not plenish, replenish, meaning do it again. Why? Well, simply because before Noah, there was a whole civilization. God brings a flood, according to the story. God brings a flood, destroys the world and all life on it. And now God is saying to Noah and his sons and their wives, go now on the earth and reproduce and fill the earth and replenish the earth. Well, that is a correct translation from the Hebrew, and I've talked to rabbis about that. And the word is replenish, R-E, means do it again. Okay, it makes sense that God would be telling Noah to redo it again. However, if you go back to Genesis 1:28, where God is creating, the first chapter of the Bible, where God is creating man, and man and woman, Adam and Eve, he says to Adam and Eve, multiply and replenish the earth. Do it again, replenish the earth. Implying, of course, do it again. What are you talking about doing again? Well, if you just read Genesis 1:2 correctly, it said, and the earth was without form and void. No, the earth became a waste and a desolation. So the rabbis will tell you, and the rabbinical reference works will tell you, that what is being said in Genesis 1:2 and in 1:28, when man and woman are being created, is that God is recreating all over again. And so consequently, the Bible, the Old Testament, is a story for this dispensation. This time, the world is being recreated. Now, what happened a million years ago, 10,000 or 100,000 years ago, that's none of your business. For you right now, this is what you need to understand. And the bottom line is that we are not the first creatures on the earth, the first time man's been on the earth. We now know that man has been on the earth probably millions and millions of years, and that for us to think that mankind was created 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 years ago is ludicrous, because we know better than that. And so consequently, that's what the Bible is saying. God is saying, replenish the earth to Adam and Eve. Do it again. Who is God? Well, the scripture says, and this is a very difficult word to deal with, God, G-O-D, because that's a lot of baggage. What are you talking about when you talk about God? Well, God is dog spelled backwards, as I said. This is why churches have dogma in their teachings, because it goes back to Anubis, the dog star, Anubis, the dog, the god of and the ancient Egyptian religion. But when you look at the word, and now I get back to what I was going to say to start with, that in Genesis 1:2, where it incorrectly says and the earth was without form and void, no, the earth became a waste and a desolation. The two Hebrew words that are being translated there is tohu and vohu. Pronunciation, it would be T-O-E hyphen W-H-O, tohu. That's not the way it's spelled in Hebrew, but that's the way it's pronounced. T-O-E-W-H-O, tohu. Vohu would be V-O-E-W-H-O, tohu, vohu, waste, desolation. There's only two places in the Bible where tohu vohu is used, and those two places, they're always used together. And there's only two places to start with. One is in Jeremiah, and one is in Genesis 1:2. And in the scripture in Jeremiah says, I saw the earth in a vision, and the earth was tohu vohu, meaning the earth became, and my eyes, I saw the earth, and it became a waste and a desolation. Well, when did that happen? Well, according to the Jeremiah prophecy, it happened many, many, many thousands of years before. And the prophet Isaiah said God gave him a vision. And in the vision, he saw the earth and tohu vohu, which is the earth became in his eyes. It was beautiful. And the scripture says that, Jeremiah says, and the earth was beautiful. Its animals, its birds, its civilizations were absolutely beautiful to see. And then tohu vohu, it became a waste and a desolation, meaning that the earth probably was a very beautiful place thousands and thousands of years ago, maybe 100,000 years ago. And Jeremiah was given the opportunity to see the way the earth was 30, 40, 50,000 years ago, with animals and a whole different beautiful world. And then something happened, some kind of a major catastrophe, tohu vohu. It became a waste and a desolation. Now, when you go back to Genesis 1:2, tohu vohu is always understood to be a situation that the earth goes through when it changes from what the ancients called one dispensation to another dispensation, or one period of time in God's history, not our history, but in the history of the universal God force, the way it keeps time. And of course, it's, one day is 1,000 years. Well, that's probably more than that. Theoretically, using the term God. how does God keep time? Well, my Lord, God's forever, forever. So, I mean, how long would that be? So in the universal God force concept of time, millions of years are nothing. So consequently, what is being said there is that tohu vohu implies a total destruction on a cosmic level between dispensations of creation between God. Between the time that God created the earth and all these wonderful things were on it, say 100,000 years ago, and then when something happened, a comet hit the earth is one of the ideas that's going around now. A major comet the size of New York hit in south of Mexico and caused the dust to fly all over the earth, and everything died because it blocked out the sun. I don't know, but something happened, because we know that animals, even in the North Pole, the South Pole, they have found animals that are frozen solid with green vegetation still in their mouth. Consequently, something happened many, many, many thousands of years ago, which is translated tohu vohu. Some terrible catastrophe happened on the earth in which the gods were angry, and the whole thing was just leveled. Well, maybe it wasn't the gods who did it, but the point being is that the Bible is saying that the gods, Elohim, became angry at the creation, and Jeremiah was allowed to see tohu vohu, a total destruction all over the earth, a major catastrophe. And that is precisely, as I said, the words and the concept is used for the dispensation of one creative period going to another creative period. So when everything is collapsed and destroyed, now theoretically, according to the Bible, God says, come, let us do it again. All right, let's start all over again, and let's create a man and a woman. And Rabbi Marvin S. Antelman, some 35 years ago, Marvin Antelman, Antelmann, Marvin Antelman of Newton, Massachusetts, was 35 years ago president of the American Rabbinical Association. And he and I were very close friends for many years. I used to chide him all the time about his understanding of the Bible. But Rabbi Antelman, president of the American Rabbinical Association, said to me, I asked him about that scripture where God said, come, let us make man in our image after our likeness. And I said to Rabbi, what are you talking about? Come, let us. Who's us? Did God got to get permission from somebody that's working with him or what? And he says, no, it's a misunderstanding on how the sentence is understood by Gentiles and Jews. Jews also misunderstand. They don't know any more than the Gentiles do. There is a correct way to read that sentence. And the normal way people think that the scripture is saying when it says God said, come, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Most people think that that's God is saying, come, let us create a creature. Let us make a new creation, a creature, and we will call him, maybe we'll call him man. So come, let us make a creature, and we will call him man and woman. Man with a womb, man. And that's what most people understand that scripture to mean. That's not what it says at all. Rabbi Antelman says, nowhere in the Bible does it say God created man. It doesn't say that. Go back and read it correctly. What is said is that God said, or Elohim, the gods said, come, let us make man in our image after our likeness. The correct way to understand that is the gods were saying, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Not make man, man's already here. Come, let us remake man. Do it again. Let us make man according to our image and our likeness. And so the ancient Jews and the Hebrews and all the ancient civilizations, starting all the way back to Sumeria, understood what was being said. It's just that we don't understand, because all we get is our news from ABC. We wouldn't know anything about what's going on. But if you go back to the ancient works, you will find that the ancient people, the Sumerians, Babylonians, Phoenician Canaanites, Egyptians, the ancient Greeks and Romans, all of them understood that we are the creation of another entities. We are the creation of the gods. And according to Zechariah Sitchin, and he's not the only one, he's just one that I know personally, but according to the work of Zechariah Sitchin, the Sumerians are saying that extraterrestrials came here from a planet called Nibiru. And Nibiru is, according to the Sumerians, they said that Nibiru is a planet about twice the size of the Earth, and it is part of our solar system, but it has a huge elliptical orbit. It's not a round orbit, it's elliptical orbit, oblong. And consequently, according to the Sumerians, and now we're beginning to scientifically find out that he was right. The Sumerians are right. The US Navy has even commented on now that there seems to be more than one other planet connected to our solar system with elliptical orbits. Well, that's what the Sumerians were saying. And consequently, this elliptical orbit is every 3,600 years, it comes back into our vicinity and passes through our solar system, then goes back out again. And according to the way the solar system turns in the galaxy, and this thing comes back every 3,600 years, comes back and then goes back out. And consequently, every 3,600 years, mankind seems to make massive movements.
This is a photo taken in Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. It seems to show a doctor performing a medical procedure on Mr. Epstein's dining room table. We looked through about 15,000 records from the Epstein files to understand how Jeffrey Epstein cultivated and rewarded a small circle of doctors as a means of control over the women in his orbit. Mr. Epstein dictated when these women got plastic surgery, even when they went to the gynecologist. And he could also take medical care away. In some cases, you also see the doctors help Jeffrey Epstein maintain that control over these women's lives. Here's one really striking example. Jeffrey Epstein is flying back from his island in the Virgin Islands to New York with a young woman who has suffered a really serious injury. He reaches out to somebody named Eva Dubin, former girlfriend of his, and the founder of the Dubin Breast Center at Mount Sinai. And he says, this woman fell off the ATV and needs stitches in her forehead. Can you organize? She responds, okay, Jess Ting, plastic surgeon at Mount Sinai, is standing by. Call me as soon as you land. And then you see the next day from Jeffrey Epstein, Dr. Ting put 35 stitches in her head, laid out on the dining room table. And that brings us back to this photo, which appears to be of Dr. Ting. Dr. Ting declined comment on this photo. When we talked to medical experts, they said, there's no way you do this if you were putting the patient's needs first. If you were doing that, you just take her to the hospital. There's much more equipment, there's many more people, the risk of infection is lower. The only reason you do this is if you were putting somebody else's needs first. We see again and again doctors in these files bending or breaking the rules of their profession. And often they treated Epstein as if he was the real client. They shared patients' private information with Jeffrey Epstein. In this email, one of the women connected to Mr. Epstein expresses to Epstein that she's uncomfortable with this arrangement. And Epstein writes back to say, this is how it is. These doctors know that I'm paying. They want to keep me happy. And these doctors benefited from their relationship with Mr. Epstein. He gave Mount Sinai over $375,000 in donations, including gifts to Dr. Dubin's Breast Cancer Center and $50,000 to Dr. Ting's cancer research. Other doctors got high retainer fees and introductions to his celebrity friends. He even bought a few of them $900 Apple Watches. We reached out to all the doctors listed in our story. Dr. Ting and Dr. Dubin told us that they had never witnessed anything they believed to be criminal conduct by Mr. Epstein. Still, Dr. Ting told us that he deeply regrets his association with him. Mount Sinai Hospital told us that they formed a committee to investigate the hospital's ties to Mr. Epstein, and they would take any appropriate action that resulted. Reporters like me have been writing about the Epstein files for weeks, but there's still so much more to be learned. What was particularly chilling about this story was how Mr. Epstein was able to corrupt an institution, medicine, which was supposed to be different. It gives you a sense of what else might be out there as we continue to dig through these files.
not us. We have no idea what's going on right here in our own city. But the ancient peoples knew and said that the gods told them that every 3,600 years they come back through. And when they come back through, why travel a long distance when they could just
Hold
wait and
on,
plan it's
y'all.
going
Let
to
me
be in
turn
the
up
close
this volume.
vicinity.
Hold
And when
on.
it is, it'll be here for a few
Let me
months.
see if I can-
So they will drop off and
I
see
can't
how
hear
everything
it.
is and give you some new
Let me fix it because I cannot hear the volume. What the hell? Still can't hear his ass. Hold tight. I hope y'all enjoying the show.
and give you some new some new concepts and new ideas, depending on how smart you are. If you're still as dumb as last time they were here, why bother? But if you've progressed a little bit, they will give you a little bit more to work on. Then they get on the planet and leave, and another 3,600 years goes by, and mankind progresses again. So all of this makes some kind of a legitimate sense if you are able to look at science, philosophy, religion, biblical history, and be able to balance it all out. There is a modicum of truth in all of this, because scientifically things are being proven now that the Sumerians were saying many thousands of years ago. So the point being is that God said, "Come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness." Um, Interesting. In relation to that, and again, I go back and reiterate that Rabbi Entelman said the correct way to say that, or to read that scripture, is that the gods said, "Come, let us make man in our image." Not make man, but let's make him in our image, after our likeness. Well, that's interesting. You mean we were already here, but for being so great, we weren't that great? Yeah, we were hominids. We were Neanderthal man. We were Cro-Magnon man. We were whatever these creatures were that were digging up all over the world. In the south of France, we're finding Neanderthal who stand upright, Homo sapien, but they were just a little different from us. But they had certain qualities that showed that they had some intelligence about how to do things. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, from the Neanderthal period, we pop in. Our skin and flesh is different than what the Neanderthals would have been. Our skin is thinner. We can't take the cold like animals do at 2 o'clock in the morning on the desert when it's 20 below zero. Animals are out there. They live through it. We couldn't. Why? It's because our bodies are designed differently. Our skin is thinner. Our systems are more balanced and vulnerable. However, our spirituality and our intellect is far higher. We can appreciate geometry, sciences, occultism, beautiful music, lasers. I mean, our intellectual and spiritual capacity is phenomenal, but our bodies are very vulnerable. So what happened in our natural evolution of things when one time you have the Neanderthals, or whatever these hominid creatures, and that's a word that science uses, hominids, these creatures, and all of a sudden we appear? Well, it makes sense to me that perhaps there is something to what the Sumerians said, that the gods who came through on Nibiru, or whatever the planet was, or whatever the story is, the bottom line is that the gods said, "Come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness," meaning they must have cross-breeded their DNA with our DNA, whichever the normal hominid creatures that were here, take one of the females, impregnate the female with the genetics of the gods, and the outcome would have been us. We are still animalistic. I mean, at best, we're still animalistic. We're still going around killing people and shooting people, and anybody that doesn't look like us or happen to be our color, we hate them and we shoot them. We shoot our own families. We shoot presidents. We shoot everybody. Why? It's because we are actually a Neanderthal, ancient hominid creature. And we have appetites for violence and excitement and killing and all that kind of thing. However, we also, as among us, those who are profoundly brilliant and spiritually in tune, who give us the great composers, the great poets, the greatness that mankind is capable of. So you have the balance, the animalistic human, plus the divinely inspired. So we can, we're balanced. The bottom line on this is that we are created by the gods. Now, go back to Genesis 18, and in Genesis 18, there's a story there about Abraham. And Abraham is standing in his tent talking to his wife, the scripture says. Go read it in the Bible, in Genesis 18. And it says, and Abraham was standing in his tent, and 3 men come walking up toward him. And he went out to meet them. And they talked with the men, and they said that they were on their way to some business they had elsewhere, and they were just passing through. And it says Abraham invited them to stay and have dinner at least, because this was a custom in the ancient world. If you have tourists or people coming through, it doesn't matter who they are, that was a custom in the ancient world. You show hospitality by asking them if at least you can stop and have something to eat or something, refresh yourself, and then go. And so that was the custom. We still do that today. Friends drop over, you'll fix them something to eat or something. So that was a custom. But it's interesting that in Genesis 18, it says Abraham asked the 3 men to stay and have dinner and then go. And they said no, they were busy. They had something they had to do. And it said that Abraham insisted. So they said, all right, not going to argue. We'll have dinner, but make it quick because we got something to do, but we'll stay for a few minutes. So it says Abraham had Sarah make something to eat. And after eating, 2 of the men got up, thanked Abraham for his hospitality, and said, but they really must go. But the 3rd one stayed to talk for a little bit. Then later on, and that's in Genesis 18, in the next chapter, Genesis 19, you find out that those 2 men are now the 2 men who are in Sodom and Gomorrah, Genesis 19. And the 2 men were able to supernaturally cause the people of the town to become blind so that they started fighting among themselves. And it says that the 2 men in the Bible, Genesis 19, were in point of fact actually angels, spirit entities who have come in a human form. And it says in Genesis 18 that the one that stayed and talked with Abraham was in fact the Lord God, the Creator himself. God Almighty, the Creator of mankind himself, was the Lord who sat with Abraham. And I think to myself, wait a minute. You mean Abraham actually fixed dinner for God, for the Creator? And he sat there and had dinner and a couple of drinks and chit-chatted with Abraham and talked to his wife. And he was said to be a man. He looked like a man. He acted like a man. Take that into consideration with later on in Genesis when it says the sons of God. And sons of God does not mean angels. Angels and sons of God are totally different subjects. Angels are not sons of God. But later on in Genesis, it says sons of God began to forsake their proper dwelling place and start cohabiting with women. The sons of God began to see women, that they were beautiful, and fell for the women. And this is where we get the idea of falling in love, because they fell from a higher position because of the women. And so consequently, I cannot picture myself seeing a woman being talked into bed by some hideous creature from another world, but good-looking, handsome men might do it. The point being is that the angels, the sons of God, not the angels, but the sons of God, there were two of them that accompanied the Almighty God, the Creator, Yahweh, Jehovah. And what is this all saying? The bottom line, after everything is said and done, is quite simply this, that we are told that God, the Creator, had two accompanying angels with him. He went into Sodom and Gomorrah. They looked like men. They sat down. They had dinner. They could chit chat with you. And and two of them left to go, and they all looked like men. And later on, the sons of God, who looked like handsome, good-looking men, they started messing around with women and had offspring. Well, their plumbing must have worked if they had offspring through females. So they must have been, for all practical purposes, a man. What is this saying? It's basically saying this. I believe that there is a modicum of truth in the story that's encoded in the book of Genesis. I think there is something there very important. I think that today there very well could be sons of God still here on the earth. We don't know what their lifespan is. We don't know how long sons of God, Elohim, or the Anunnaki, as the ancient Sumerians call them, we don't know how long they live. We have no idea what we're talking about here. All we know is the Bible is saying that there are extraterrestrials, and I have to tell you this, but that's the word, extraterrestrial, because God and the angels, or the sons of God, do not come from Van Nuys. They come from out there. They come from somewhere out there in, quote, heaven, end quote. So if they're coming from out there and they look like humans and they can mess with women and have offspring, they can sit and have dinner with you, and they look like good and handsome men, but they're not from here and they're not men. They just look like men. That begins to make sense to me that perhaps what we are seeing today in the Middle East having to do with the Iraq, which Iraq was originally hundreds of years ago called Persia. Persia was called before that Chaldea. Chaldea before that was called Babylon. So what we're talking about is the king of Babylon. Now it begins to look like what's going on here is that our world is being run by very powerful men who care nothing
happen. One of the most famous spiritual healers in the world rarely talks to anyone on camera. John of God agreed to sit down with me under a mango tree on the grounds of the casa. A group of his patients gathered to watch. John of God speaks only Portuguese, so Heather Cumming helped translate. Ready, guys? You describe yourself as a spiritual medium. What does that mean, a medium?
Médium, eu sou espiritualista.
As a medium, he's a spiritualist. He believes a great deal in God, and he practices this mission already 55 years.
Born on a farm to a family who rarely had enough to eat, João Teixeira de Faria was the youngest of 6 children. His father was a tailor. His mother, a housewife who also ran a small hotel to make ends meet. João left school when he was 7 to work in his father's tailor shop. To this day, he cannot read or write. As a boy, João says he realized he was clairvoyant when he predicted a terrible storm that destroyed a neighboring village. This event began his journey as a spiritual medium. Are we all, in some sense, missionaries of God? Do we all have the possibility in our own way to be a medium for God?
Todos nós somos médiums.
Everybody is a medium
Pratical.
who practices good, and we are all children of God. And each person has their mission.
Yeah. The first time I saw it today, I was humbled by the
Ela
experience.
disse quando ela viu primeiro as pessoas hoje,
Pouco. Isso aqui pertence a você.
because a little bit of this belongs to you. A part of this belongs to you
How so? I don't understand.
because you are human.
Well, could the entity tell me, what does human energy look like? Because as I understand it, each person that comes before you, the entity sees the energy of that
Nós
person.
temos a áurea.
We have an aura. We have different colors in our aura.
So human energy looks like colors?
Sim,
Yes,
várias cores.
various different colors.
What does something like cancer look like when you see inside?
Quando vê aranha,
Sendo da vontade de Deus. Não,
when he sees cancer,
Deus é só coração.
he starts asking that this be taken away, be removed, being God's will, because it is not his, he does not have the power. It is God who has the power. And he prays to have the person's cancer removed by God.
Sick when you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken and think about how many innocent families were broken up, how many chickens had to die. You couldn't care less. They're just chickens. They're just animals. And so consequently, I think that the sons of God, the Elohim, Anunnaki, I don't care what name you give them, they are still here. I am totally convinced that we are now seeing in the Middle East, with the United States government doing what it's doing, with the rest of the world preparing for something, tohu vohu. I think what we're actually seeing is a profound, awesome, terrible tribulation coming when the gods are going to battle like two men fighting over a woman. The gods are going to battle for the ownership of us. And consequently, when you understand that Saddam Hussein is Persian, Persia is Chaldean, Chaldean is Babylon. And we're talked in the Bible is filled with, in the book of Genesis and all the way through to Revelation, talks about how the gods of Babylon were to be cursed and they were evil, and that the good God was going to destroy Babylon. I think what we're seeing right now is in Israel, America, England, when you begin to look at the symbols, the words, the terms, the national coats of arms, the seals of nations, listen to what the president is saying. I am totally convinced for my own self, and I've been looking at this for over 40 years, I'm totally convinced what's going on right now is that the president of the United States has no control over anything. I think that what's going on is there are very powerful, awesome creatures on this earth that look like men, and they act like men, and they can eat with you, but they are not normal human beings. These people are despotically powerful, murderous in their intent. They don't care a thing about human life because they created it. They don't give a damn about nations, races, children, family values. That's all crap to them. They created this creature called man. They are in a whole different world than we are. They don't see the same things. Their technology is so far above us. Their understanding of human creation is so far above anything we understand. They are, as far as we're concerned, gods. Consequently, I think that what we're seeing now is a war between the gods, and consequently, tohu vohu. I believe that it's my opinion that we're going to see in the next 2.5 years trouble like we have never seen it before. It's frightening, the implications of what I just think back on the gods and when they're at war. You like war and you like bloodshed? Well, stick around. Now you're going to see how the gods do it. You look. America loves all these war movies. Good, stick around. You're going to really want to see this one, because the gods are going to show you what war is really all about. And it hasn't got a thing to do with sparing the children and only dropping bombs on military. And no. The gods, they don't give a damn about none of it. They're here to do one thing, and that is control and take ownership of us, their creation. Incidentally, if the concept that I have outlined that we creatures, we humans, are actually the offspring of the gods, or some kind of a mating action between the extraterrestrials or the Elohim, Anunnaki, the ancient gods, whatever you want to call them. If there is something to this, if there is any validity to this concept that extraterrestrials who came from heaven, yeah, of course, if they came here and they said, come, let us create man or make man in our image and our likeness, you've got a very interesting situation here. You have Neanderthal or hominid creatures, and we haven't even discussed where the hominid creatures came from. We're not even dealing with that yet. But you're talking about an extraterrestrial life forms that looked like us, and they have come here from another world, from another place in time, and they are attempting to procreate with the indigenous creatures that are here, and consequently their DNA and their system, their body system from where the world they have come from is so superior to ours, and yet they are smart enough to know how.
For 47 years, the Iranian regime has regularly targeted and killed Americans. And while Democrats talk tough on Iran, they sought no action. In 2008, before becoming Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton said she would attack Iran if president.
If Iran were to launch a nuclear attack on Israel, what would our response be? And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them.
Of course, that never happened. She lost the nomination to Barack Obama, who instead sought to make a deal with Iran.
Over the years, Iran moved closer and closer to having the ability to build a nuclear weapon. As president, I decided that a strong, confident America could advance our national security by engaging directly with the Iranian government.
But a week after Obama said that, John Kerry admitted that the Iran nuclear deal would give money to terrorists.
Do you believe that any of that $55 billion ends up in the hands of terrorists?
I think that some of it will end up in the hands of the IRGC or of other entities, some of which are labeled terrorist.
Well, fast forward to 2022, and President Biden's press secretary said Iran was accelerating its nuclear program.
Iran has rapidly accelerated its nuclear program and reduced cooperation with international inspectors in non-performance of Iran nuclear deal commitments. Their breakout period is down from about a year, which is what we knew it was during the deal, to just a few weeks or less.
But all Biden said was don't. And a couple months later, Obama admitted he made mistakes with Iran by not helping activists on the ground more.
And in retrospect, I think that was a mistake. Every time we see a flash, a glimmer of hope, of people longing for freedom, I think we have to point it out. We have to shine a spotlight on it. We have to express some solidarity about it.
Well, now today, it's President Trump who sought action while Iran is trying to talk tough.
Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
And maybe he missed President Trump taking out the Ayatollah along with 49 others before taking out those counting votes for the next Ayatollah.
Hold on, y'all. We about to segue back into the bill. You know, I gotta hit y'all with the news. You know, gotta hit y'all with the news. Hold on, get back in. Pull this back up. We still talking about this Adam and Eve shit too. Jordan Maxwell going in. I told you. It's an old concept, man. That's already been rediscovered, man. Like, let's get into the esoteric knowledge, man. Thanks for being here. We just chilling, on this Sunday, soaking up this knowledge, so you ain't out here looking like a damn picklehead gump brain, okay? Because I know a lot of y'all got popcorn brain. Let's get it.
Used for those creatures. What is it? Bigfoot. Yeah, Bigfoot, the Yetis, whatever. They are hominid creatures. They walk on two legs like male. They look like men, but they are animals. But they are brilliant in intelligence and can outsmart anybody. They have obviously supernatural powers to go in and out of dimensions. There's a lot of material on that subject. So, and too many races of people around the world, from China to Asia to North America to all of the ancient cultures, talk about the Bigfoot, the Yetis, those mysterious creatures that live in the wilds. It would not surprise me if those Yetis, Bigfoot creatures, are the original experiments of the Anunnaki gods cohabiting and crossbreeding with the hominid creatures that were here, but they put too much of something in and not enough of the other, and they came out even more vicious than what they were and even smarter. But they're still animals. Well, they screwed up. Okay, now we got to do it something better, because this thing was, before it was just an animal. Now it's a vicious animal, and it has supernatural powers like we do. So, all right, and that thing's already gone. Let's forget it. Let's move it on and do it again now. This time we're going to do it better. And so now they do it again. And now they got it right. Now they got it balanced and got the DNA correct and got it right and gave birth to us. So I'm saying, if any of this has any validity, and I'm just pointing this material out because this is what the Bible says. And so consequently, if any of this has any validity, it very well might be, as my friend William Henry has been talking about for many years, and Zechariah and all the rest of them. I think that we might be seeing a war being put together right now, not by men. It is very possible that we in this country and the world in general is being led. We have talked about Illuminati, the secret societies, the fraternal orders, even among the Masons of Europe. When you confront the Masons of Europe and you ask them, who actually is at the top of your organization? At the very top, who are they? They will tell you that they don't know. That is not to be discussed. They don't know who is at the top, and it's none of your business. And you want to stay alive and just do what you're doing, then you just take care of your business at this level and don't worry about who the boss is. And consequently, the Masons in Europe refer to their masters as, quote, the hidden chiefs or hidden masters. Somehow or another, the hidden masters behind world events, today we refer to them as Illuminati or whatever. I don't think the Bilderbergers and the Council on Foreign Relations and any of those organizations are of any importance to me at all. Those are just the mundane nuts and bolts of how the organizations put together to make things work. I'm more interested as to who are the gods behind world affairs. Who are the brilliant minds at the top of the pyramid, symbolically? Who are the intellectual elites behind world events? I'm totally sure there's only a handful, a very small, tiny handful, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they were the Elohim, the Anunnaki, the men who look like men. but are not men. Consequently, so many people have said, how can these people go to war killing innocent women and children, like the First and Second World War, murdering and killing? How could men do this? I don't think men are doing it at all. I think that there are powerful entities in this world who look like men, and they give the orders, and you better jump. And I don't care if you call yourself president, just don't matter. If you get in their way, they'd sooner kill you as anybody else. They got an agenda, and you had better jump when they say. And consequently, I think that's what we're looking at today, a war between the gods. It has nothing to do with the human element. It has to do with a cosmic, cataclysmic time in which the gods are battling now for our ownership. This is what Steven Spielberg and George Lucas have been telling you. Steven Spielberg in his movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You need to go back and get the movie and watch it. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. What is the Last Crusade? Well, if you don't understand the first two Crusades, you're never going to understand the Last Crusade. You know what the Crusades were all about? Do you know who started the Crusades? And what were they crusading about? Well, it has to do with the ownership of people, international banking cartels. It has to do with the Knights Templars of the 9th and 10th century. So consequently, if you don't understand what the first two Crusades or the first three Crusades, then you're not going to understand Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. What is the Last Crusade about? It has Indiana Jones looking for something called the Cup of Christ or the Holy Grail. The Cup of Christ, the Holy Grail, there have been many, many stories and many interpretations of this, but basically it goes back to one thing. The cup represents the holder of the wine. The wine is poured into the cup. The wine has always represented the blood of mankind. Jesus said, drink this wine, for this is the blood of the covenant. So you drink the wine, all of the men around the table would drink the wine. They are symbolically drinking the blood of the God so that they are locked into a partnership with God. You're drinking the wine, which is a ritual. The wine represents the blood. And in the Christian sense, it represents Jesus's blood that's being shed for us. So you're drinking the blood, taking an oath to lock yourselves together in a sacred mission. All right, but the Holy Grail, the lost Grail, is a cup in which you pour the wine. The cup represents the earth, and the wine represents the blood on the earth. So the cup represents the earth. The human blood on the earth is the wine in the cup. Consequently, whoever
I do want to ask you two, related, about oil. U.S. oil hitting $100 for the first time since July of 2022. Obviously, that is going to have major implications, not just for the world, but certainly people, Americans right here at home. What's the significance of that?
So, I mean, it is fairly significant. I mean, President Obama had once stated that he could see his poll numbers rise and fall based on the price of oil. So it's definitely got domestic political impact, but in a more practical sense for Americans, right? We get very little Gulf oil coming to the U.S. The impact directly of that oil that's not really coming out, about 20 million barrels a day, really goes to markets in the East, so over to India and China in that direction, right? But there's an overall, market effect in terms of the price of oil, which we're seeing now at Brent crude there at about 108 a barrel, WTI crude about 108 a barrel. In speaking to some of the ship brokers who are responsible for moving oil around the world, they're saying that this could spike somewhere between 100 and 150. We've got about 7 to 14 days or so before the Straits of Hormuz really turns into a crisis. Lloyd's of London, others in the insurance business, right, are people insuring ships. They're not in many cases because of the current geopolitical situation. So the United States is actually building an insurance mechanism to help insure those boats to transit the Straits. And they're talking about U.S. military escorts going in and out. in speaking to folks with a level of risk, it's assumed that the most risk takers in the industry are really the Greek shipping owners, and the Chinese need the oil. So the suspicion is if the Greeks and the Chinese, the ship owners, get together, they could probably put together movement of somewhere between 4 and 5 million barrels, a day coming out of there. But that's only 25% of the total volume. That also, is notwithstanding any potential drone attacks or things of that nature coming out of there. So once the oil storage tanks are full and gets backed up, they have to shut down production on the back end. It takes a long time to sort of turn that back on. So the ripple effects will last for a little bit.
Yeah.
Human family on the earth in his hand, which I believe is a symbolism of the ancient gods who have come here from another world, and they are saying, who owns this property down here? Well, we created it. You created it, but we own it. We're coming in and taking it over. And that's why Saddam Hussein has said he believes he is the reincarnation of King Nebuchadnezzar. I got a feeling that there's some really powerful, strange occultism going on in the Middle East right now. And we in America and England, the Western man is getting ready to get involved and become cannon fodder. We're going to become involved in a war that you have no idea in the world how big it's going to be. Because this has nothing to do with generals sitting down and plotting out some war plan. No. This is going to be one hell of a conflict. It's going to be a cosmic conflict.
Here, that I've posted this about The View. Oh, The View. A lot of you, boy, you hate The View and you hate it. You ain't sharing anything. They're under investigation under the same laws and orders that I'm result yet. Oh, forgive me. That's what I forgot. You have no faith. You have no faith in the plan. You want everything done on your time. The heck with the plan. No, this is taking too long. Why is this taking so long? Because all of this corruption is a 5-minute solution, according to most of you. Taking the Panama Canal back. When President Trump, Jimmy Carter was dying, quote unquote, oh boy, President Trump, he's such a this, he's a that, he has no respect for Jimmy Carter. President Trump was hammering Jimmy Carter for selling the Panama Canal. Why would quote unquote Joe continue Executive Order 13936 from July 2020? Why would he continue that? It's with Hong Kong. President Trump said that the Chinese have taken over the Panama Canal. Everybody, he's a racist, he's xenophobic, he's all that. Then he specifically said it's Hong Kong who's taken over the Panama Canal. Did you not see where 4,000 Marine Corps went to Panama last year? Well, why would quote unquote Joe continue this executive order with Hong Kong that has a national emergency attached to it? Why didn't he just let it automatically terminate? They automatically terminate after a year, ladies and gentlemen. So the plan. See, a lot of people just don't know the plan. 2017 to 2021 was a resetting of the legislative branch. The laws show this. I've broken this down. I'm not breaking it down on this one. But 2017 to 2021 was a resetting of the legislative branch. 2021 to 2025 was a resetting of the executive branch. 2025, the present day, is the resetting of the judicial branch. That's why everything that you hear in your quote-unquote news and your timelines and your feeds is judge this and a judge that, a judge blocked this, a judge did this, a judge, a court, Supreme Court this, Supreme Court that, appeals court this, appeals court that, Sixth Circuit, Fourth Circuit, Third Circuit, First Circuit. That's what's dominating. But if you'd have been paying attention from 2017 to 2021, you'd have seen what dominated the news was legislation. If you'd have been paying attention during 21 to 25, you'd have seen what's dominating the news was executive. The president has executive privilege and executive this and executive that. And the whole format, if you will, 2017 to present day, is the resetting of the Declaration of Independence as prescribed in the Declaration of Independence. It's word for word. So I will reiterate, April 2016. That was before President Trump. That was before President Trump and the election of 2016. April 2016. Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide puts out a new booklet. It updated a few things, which we'll talk about in a minute. May 2016, out of nowhere, the Supreme Court, more liberal Supreme Court at that time, takes on the Military Justice Act of 2016, and they clarify that military laws and military courts are separate. They're a separate jurisprudence from federal courts and laws. I've been telling you, military personnel are already supposed to know this, that military is separate from federal. We're the first line of defense. We were established first, and we're the last line of defense. January 17, 2017, Federal Continuity Directive 1 was updated. The same day, you have a joint publication by the military was updated. June the 13th, Federal Continuity Directive 2 was re-established, which is the implementation of the Part 1. This is the implementation of that one. June 16th, 3 days later, there's the joint publication of that one. So one's an operational and one's a planning. Get that? So you plan first, then you do what? Operation. Plan, operation. Those are your continuity of government, your national essential functions. What happens in a catastrophic event? What are we going to do during this catastrophic event? How are we going to take care of it? How are we going to keep the government functioning, even though we're in a continuity government, which means there's a military government, the military's taking over? Bingo. All right. December the 20th, 2019, I just got validated this past week. They had it all over the news that they were saying President Trump is abiding by the what? The War Powers Resolution Act. There's only one entry in that whole Chapter 33, which is your War Powers Resolution. There's only one entry that applies to President Trump. It's the one I've been talking about, Section 1550. Come on, folks. It's all there. The Congress in 1973 is the one who established that the president must have a what? A national emergency declared to use the what? The military. They did that March 23rd, 2020. There was articles put out back then that, oh, the president's going to install a general in case the law breaks down, constitutional law. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't install a general. Generals are in service all their lives. They rank up to general. You don't install a general. It's not that terminology. That was a proclamation of martial law. It's saying, hey, we're going to put a general in place in case law breaks down. That's constitutional law, because it's putting this article out to you, the people. They're telling you we're going to go into martial law. You can look under the State Department. The president does not have to give you a formal declaration that we're going in martial law. Why would he tell you that we're going in martial law? That would flag the enemies that, hey, they're on to us. March 27th, 2020, Executive Order 13912, President Trump invoked Title 10, Section 12302, 1 million reserve components to active duty. He also called back in 4 different codes. He called back certain members of the Coast Guard, voluntarily and involuntarily. Very key. Coast Guard worked with the Navy during times of war. All right. April 1st is when we launched the operations with Venezuela in the Caribbean Sea. That's when we launched that operation. April 1st, 2020. They just named it last year, but it was actually launched. You can go to Southern Command and look on the official page. You can read all about it. All our joint partners, everything. April 30th, Executive Order 13919. President Trump invoked Title 10, Section 12304, which requires 2 years preparation when you look in our military manuals, which means this is a pre-planned operation, what we're doing. All of it is. All right. During that time period, that whole time period, President Trump was saying, we've been invaded, we've been invaded, we've been invaded. In all his speeches, he said what? Our gravest threats are not abroad, they're within. Then he specifically said we're fighting an invisible enemy. You heard all the proclamations, you just didn't know what you were listening to. We're in a military government, which is a strategy, all right? It was a crossroads that we came to in life. You, the people, didn't know what's going on. You know how we know? Because you're yelling right now. And everything you're yelling about is old news. It's old. Old. So it came to a crossroads where it's like, okay, the deep state, the career politicians, they've been tricking and deceiving and manipulating the people all these years. They use the terms laws and orders, and it looks good on paper, but what are they doing back here? Not that. So we came to a crossroads where you have to do what? Strategy. How do we do this? How do we do it lawfully? We still got to do everything lawfully. No cutting corners. Everything has to be done lawfully. By what? Integrity purposes. Because once we cut a corner and we don't do things by integrity, guess what? That makes us a liar. So we had to do it by that. So it's a crossroads. The best strategy out there was a strategy that was used in World War II. Going, okay, look, here's what we can do. We can put President Trump in for 4 years. The military's already taken over. I've already shown you how the military's taken over in 2016, if you'll listen. But most people won't listen because you can't appreciate military strategies and tactics because someone like President Trump or, Dan Bongino and all that, they haven't told you. Well, they're not supposed to tell you right now, you morons. All right. Now, that's a term of endearment to me. If I call you a moron, it means I love you, but you're acting irrational. All right. So it's not necessarily that you're a moron and go take a hike, but come on, people. That's the whole point of a strategy. And the 45-47 is a visual that we're not through 47 yet. So that means we're still in the operation, which means you, if you care, you need to learn what? The operational plan, the blueprint, the strategies, the tactics. They're all there. The laws, the orders, the executive orders, the proclamations, the treaties, they're all there. So if you're still running all these mouths out there, just, China, again, I don't know. So what? What are you going to do about it? Okay, so China's doing something. What are you doing about it? You and your little comment box, China's going to do it. What you going to do about it? Nothing, right? But if you would actually see what's going on, you'd see that, that ain't what's happening. Because Joe, quote unquote, didn't do a single thing on paper. I show you this. I'm about to show you even more tonight. What's going to get my hips to gyrating in a minute. I'm going to do the cha-cha. So see, military government sets this parameter where it's like, we put President Trump in 4 years, pull him back, install a government in exile, install a puppet government, and then for all of you out there, we didn't have time to stop in 2021 and say, hey, by the way, it's unconstitutional that Congress changed in 1951 term limits on the president. That's unconstitutional. We didn't have time to sit and educate. All right. I have time to educate, and we're going to be in a major education phase 2028 rolling forward. President Trump's already proven that, where he said he was going to defund all the schools who didn't teach our history. That's a big deal. Colleges and high schools will be defunded. The ones that, you're going to learn our history. So see, we didn't have time to stop in 2021 and say, hey, by the way, term limits on the president is unconstitutional because Article 2, Clause 1, Section 1 of the United States Constitution, it just says 4 years in a term. It don't say how many terms. It also does not say that the Congress is going to establish this, and that, or this, that. It don't say that. And the main author, the only author of the Constitution, James Madison, but also Alexander Hamilton, who was an author of the Federalist Papers along with James Madison, only three of them, John Jay, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison, but two of them specified way back when that they thought presidents should serve as kings. Yeah, imagine that. So I don't think libtards really support the Constitution. They don't. They butcher everything about it. That's why you rhinos, you don't want to look like a libtard. You look like a rhino-tar. All right, that's what you are, a rhino-tar. James Madison and Alexander Hamilton, the main author of the Constitution, and the main authors of the Federalist Papers specifically said that presidents should serve as kings. As long as you, the people, voted them in, they should serve as long as you want them serving. So it's a strategy. You set a parameter. So this answers all the people out there. Well, why would it look this way? And why would they allow this? And why would they let it? People are dying and people did that. You know what you sound like? I'm refraining today from a few key things that I normally would say. But you sound atrocious. People die every day. Last I checked, we live, we die. That hadn't changed. That formula hasn't changed. All right. Last I checked, you haven't done anything about the people dying. You haven't done anything about the homeless. You haven't done anything about the swamp because you kept voting them in. So your check engine light has reached its maximum, and now you're wanting to, you did that. I didn't do that. You did that. So you draw a line in the sand. President Trump gave everybody a chance from day one. Step across the line. Do what's right by the people. Step across the line. The military perimeter lets certain things happen where you could see it. You, the target audience, you, the normies, you, the commenters, you, the I've got an opinion and I've got a voice, but you ain't done nothing all these years. You're the ones who had to be the recipient of give them what they want. Because you clearly can't name the three branches of government. You're yelling and cussing and fussing, and you have no solutions. So you have to be the recipient of it. Then you have to go, okay, you also listening to me, you have to go, hey, I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of history. I want to apply myself. I want to apply myself where I can. Or maybe you're experienced. Maybe you're a good accountant. Maybe you're a good that. There's things that you can apply yourself. That's what President Trump's looking for. Everywhere. In every state. Be a fighter. Get in the ring and fight. Don't be the one out there yelling and cussing and fussing and doing this and that, and you're not doing a thing about it. Change your way of thinking. What's the quote again? That doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result is insanity? Well, that means you're insane. I don't want to call you that, but you look like that. So there's three kinds of military jurisdiction. And I've read these before, so I'm going to read them again just because when you read them and then you apply all the laws and orders that's in place, you'll see them. There are under the Constitution, all you rhino tards and libtards, it says there are under the Constitution three kinds of military jurisdiction. One to be exercised both in peace and war. Another to be exercised in time of foreign war without the boundaries of the United States, or in time of rebellion and civil war within states or districts occupied by rebels treated as belligerents, enemy. And third, to be exercised in time of invasion or insurrection within the limits of the United States. Did you hear what I just said? The third, which is, you got to do this. There are under the Constitution three kinds of military. Now skip all the others I just read. Let's skip to the third one. There are three kinds of military jurisdiction under the Constitution. The third is to be exercised in time of invasion or insurrection within the United States. And it says, or during rebellion within the states, maintaining adhesion to the national government when the public danger requires its exercise. The first is called military law and is found in acts of Congress prescribing rules and articles of war, which our laws of war came first in the military before the Declaration. It says, or otherwise providing for the government of the national forces. The second is a military government, superseding, as far as may be deemed expedient, the local law, and exercised by the military commander under the direction of the president with the express or implied sanction of Congress. Well, there you go. March 23rd, 2020, that whole we're going to install a general. It says what? Military commander under the direction of whom? The president. And it says express implied sanction of Congress. December the 20th, 2019, Section 1550, which was a part of the NDAA of 2020, which is a defense budget. You got to know these things. The third may be denominated martial law proper and is called into action by Congress or temporarily when the action of Congress cannot be invited in the case of justifying or excusing peril by the president. Well, I can make the case that Congress was in a what? They're in a continuity of government. President Trump, Executive Order 13961, December the 7th, 2020. The president can call that. And it says in times of what? Insurrection or invasion is when the president. What did President Trump say all through March 2020 forward in every speech? We've been invaded. We've been invaded. We've been invaded.